Can you spot this pilot's mistake? It's a subtle one, but it happens all the time. Today I'm going to teach you about it so this kind of thing doesn't happen to you. Ready? Here we go.
See ya.
I'm paragliding!
See ya.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. Stoked you're here. I'm Ari. I teach high-level paragliding with emotional intelligence and relational skills. I also founded the Paragliding Men's Group to help smart, adventurous men have badass, solid relationships with women who support them and their paragliding. If you're ready to shed those people-pleasing tendencies and the avoidant conflict dynamics that you have and get what you really want, hit the link in the description below. The 4th cohort is just about to start, and this is the last week to apply. So if you've been curious about that, now's your chance. Let's get into this video. Okay, so we're going to watch it once through, and then I'll go back and break it down. Okay, he's flying along. He's totally specced out in the Alps at cloud base or close to it, flying on the rears on a Maestro, too light it looks like. In some beeps. Making some adjustments with the rears. Flying into lift, comes off, half wrap, big frontal, symmetric, pulling in the brakes, comes out, turns back into the climb. Okay, there's lots of things I want to tell you about this. So in general, this is something that I have seen a lot of, and this is the lesson that I taught in a video that I made called "You Have to Know This About Two-Liners" or something like that. The lesson is this. As you see here, if we scrub forward, there's this moment. He starts to fly into lift. Let's watch it one more time. I'm going to play it at full speed. Flies into beeps, half wrap, frontal. Okay, I'm going to slow it down so that you can make sense of this. Step by step, frame by frame, frame by frame. Okay, so there is a moment from the time that he lets go. You see, he's let go and he's going to do a half wrap. His brake toggles are in the pulleys here, you see, which means he's not on the rears, he's not on the brakes. So how is he controlling the glider? The answer is he's not. Now a couple of frames go by, he's still doing a half wrap, still no meaningful connection to the glider. Still no meaningful connection to the glider. So now he's got a little bit of tension on the brakes as he's pulling a little tension to make the half wrap go, right? So the half wrap, you can see this is a great demonstration of it. He grabs the bottom of the brake toggle, pinches it between his thumb and his hand, and he pulls tension to twist the line around the back of his hand and through his palm. Now he's got a little bit of brake tension that he immediately lets up on, and the glider frontals. Okay, so point here that I want to make to you is that there are transition moments from going from the brakes to the rears and from the rears to the brakes that you really want to be mindful to minimize the time that you're transitioning, okay? When I'm flying my two-liner, I basically will fly on the rears. When I come off the speed bar and I know I'm going to turn into a climb, I go directly from the rears and I pull the bottom of the brake toggle that's already in my hand and I let go of the rears and I pull the toggle down to brake pressure and I take a half wrap from brake pressure. I do not just let go with slack brake lines and take a half wrap at slack brake lines. I'm trying to minimize the time that I don't have a meaningful connection to the glider and that I can't catch a collapse. I also do the same thing when I'm going on to the speed bar. I go brakes and I hold the brakes down, not like pulling a bunch of brake, but I'm feeling the pressure. And then when I get my foot looped on the speed bar, then I quickly transition to the rears and then I push the speed bar. I'm trying to minimize those transition moments, okay? A lot of times we think, oh, we're going up, this is all peaceful, this is good. When you're at cloud base, a lot of videos, if you've watched this channel enough, you'll see a lot of collapses at cloud base. A lot of times at the top of the climb, you can have a waterfall effect, you can have a mushroom effect, you can have swirls, you can have shear, all kinds of things. We get comfortable, we're like, oh, we're climbed out, we've got a big glide ahead of us, all kinds of reasons. But in general, you want to really minimize those transition moments, okay? So as watching the video again, he lets go and he casually takes a half wrap. What I would recommend is let go and pull the brake toggles down into the bottom of the brake toggle and then half wrap from there. You'll see tandem pilots do this really well. They'll start, sometimes tandem pilots will take a second wrap as they land and they're flaring, and then they'll do another wrap. It's a high level skill to be able to take brake pressure and wrap without losing the brake pressure. But in general, you want to have this connection to the glider at all times to be able to catch collapses. And that's what he's missing here, even if it's briefly, okay? This could be another instance of like where you pull a little bit of brake and then when you let it up, you get a frontal. But at any rate, this is a B glider. This is like a mid B glider. It's got great performance. I really like these wings. I've guided a bunch of people who fly these and they seem to go really good for how easy they are to fly. So there's another thing that he does here in collapse recovery that I want to point out that I see all the time. I think it's a bad habit and I want to point this out. So watch his right hand here. You see it? Okay, let's watch one more time as he recovers from this collapse. Watch his right hand. Okay, so I would describe it. Let's watch it one more time and I'll give you the audio. Pump, 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 pump. See? Okay, so it's like pump, 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 pump. So remember, if you watch some of my other videos where people have huge chutes, the rule for a shooting glider is that you pull as much brake as you need for as long as you need it to stop the glider from progressing forward towards the horizon. The moment that it stops progressing forward towards the horizon, you let your hands up, okay? If the glider is shooting and you are pumping the brake, then you are only giving half the input to the glider that you could be. Is that clear? As the glider is shooting, if you are pumping, then half of the time you're pulling the brake and half of the time you're not pulling the brake. So that you're breaking the rule. If the glider is shooting, you pull as much brake as far as you need for as long as you need until the glider stops progressing. I see people doing this kiting, launching, flying in general. Pumping the brake is not a thing. You will never see Kriegel pump the brake like this. Authoritative, deep inputs when necessary are not pumping, okay? So train your hands to be confident and authoritative. When I see someone pumping their brake, I think that they're not actually sure that they should be doing what they're doing, and they're kind of like a little frantic about it. And we're all somewhere in our progression, so there's no shame there. It's a bad habit, so if you notice yourself pumping, I wouldn't even know how to train that out of you. I would say stop pumping, pull the brake, be authoritative, control that damn thing, be its boss, be its boss. You're such a huge part of the airfoil. Like in paragliding, like our bodies are the aircraft. Like we are the aircraft. We become one with the aircraft. It is us. And so what we do with our arms is what the glider does. So as you control the glider, authoritative inputs for as long as you need them are super important. Yeah, I really appreciate this pilot sending this. He sent this to me on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, make sure that you do that. There's so much more content over there. And in general, I wanted to break this down for you. Minimize those transition times. Always have a meaningful connection to the glider. Be careful when you let go of it. Obviously, everybody's going to have to eat and drink and pee at some point and mess with their phone and text their girlfriend. And picking the right time to do that is really important. At cloud-based, it's probably not the best time. And what to text your girlfriend, we can talk about that in the Paragliding Men's group if you're ready to live your most authentic and expressive life and just become comfortable with the consequences of being yourself. Let the people who like you, and let the people who don't like you get away from you and unsubscribe. Feel free to unsubscribe and fuck off. If you don't want to hear about conscious relationships, those are the kind of men that I want in my life. And those are the kind of men that are in the Paragliding Men's group. So if you are ready to make some moves and work to improve your relationships in your life, then click the link in the description below. Like I said, last week to apply. So if you've been curious about this for a while, now's your chance. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for sending the videos. We'll see you on the next episode.